decided this month I'd talk about the history of alcohol in Boring. Right now, you can go to the Not So Boring Bar, the Timber Tavern. There's a lounge at Red Apple. There's a lounge at Nuts on Sports. There's Boring Brewing, where you can go, and the Backroads Pub and Grub, and the I Don't Know. So that wasn't always the case. The earliest saloon I was able to find was 1904, and that was T.M. Allison's saloon. And the town actually had a petition to get him a license. Something that he wasn't great at keeping up. I originally thought he was like a rebel or a bad guy because I found all these articles about him not having a license, like maybe a dozen. But then as I started putting it together, putting the dates together, it was all just one time. And I don't even think it was nefarious. I think he just forgot to renew it. But they wrote it in the paper, arrested, they did a sting operation. And, but he must have got it renewed because he was in town for a few more years. In 1907, he had to stop serving liquor on Sundays. So that was a new law around here. And then in 1908, this became a dry county. And that's when he left town and abandoned that place, and a year later, it burned down. And then I'm going to skip to 1920. That's the next time that alcohol has any kind of story around here. And that's when Prohibition started. So about 4 months after Prohibition started, there's a Moonshiners caught out here. They had a big still and 1,700 gallons of mash. And they were caught by Deputy Hughes and the guy we know, the guy who busted the Wild West gang, Sheriff Wilson. He busted them. It's kind of weird in the paper. It mentions that it was located below an outhouse in the basement. I'm going to assume they mean outbuilding because I don't think an outhouse can have a basement. I mean, it kind of has a basement, but not where you'd want to produce your product. There were a couple Australian guys. So a few months later, Sheriff Wilson busted a couple other ones. One in Milwaukee, another like 3 Australian guys. I don't know if they're the same people because they never listed the names, but maybe there was an Australian moonshining syndicate out in this area. I'm not sure. The next one in Boring was at Miss Emma Saylor's farm, and I don't think she was involved because it said that she rented the property out to a couple guys from Portland. And they raided the property and they couldn't find still, but they kept looking around and found a piece of copper here, a piece of copper there, and then a boiler, and figured out they tore it all apart trying to hide it. Which I posted on my Facebook group, and James Bourne, one of the Borings that's not around here anymore, he said that was his dad's favorite story, is one of his neighbors always, sheriff would be coming, so he'd tear apart the moonshine equipment, put it away, and then after he left, he'd put it all back together. And the final piece of moonshine I could find was a couple years later, and it was a guy named Mark Lang, and he was busted with 50 gallons of mash and a small copper still. And he got 6 months in jail and a $500 fine. And, you know, Prohibition lasted a lot longer, but that's the only ones I could find. I don't know if Sheriff Wilson was really...
How do you spell the Lang that you just referenced?
I want to say it's L-A-N-G.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it had the E at the end.
Because there's a former deputy
Yes, there is.
county sheriff by the name of Lang, L-A-Y-N-G.
Oh yeah, definitely wasn't that. So that's history, early history of alcohol in this county. I'm gonna try to find more Sheriff Wilson stories. You know, he caught all the Moonshiners. He caught those damn Wild West gang. And we'll see what else we can find. And do come to the Grange for their Get the Dirt on the Grange thing, because I'm going to do a huge, like 9-panel display on their history. They gave me access to a ton of old photographs. So I have photos of them doing like Breaking Ground and Home Ec Club and dances they did there. It's going to be cool. Probably a lot of pictures you haven't seen before. And that's this Sunday. That's it.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.